And we'll go here and wait until I see that announcement. And it looks like we're there. All right. Welcome, 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 everybody, to episode 46 of the podcast Unlimited Wisdom with Robert Hollis. As we get started, thank you for hitting the like button and sharing this podcast with your friends and family. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to our channel, hit the subscribe channel. Both buttons are right below this video when you're watching us on YouTube, and we do appreciate it. Also, please join our Imaginators program. Great program, great community where we help you imagine and become an Imaginator. And go to roberthollis.com/join for that. But here today, this is Unlimited Wisdom, episode 46. So, Matt, Robert, let's get started in here. Yeah, let's get started in here.
Hey guys, I was gonna say the band's. I said earlier, but the band's back together because we haven't all been on the same podcast for a couple weeks. So,
Oh,
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. So yeah,
yep,
it's definitely going to have some different dynamics. I like it when all three of us are here.
yeah, there's gonna be some fighting again. No, I'm just kidding.
all right, put him up, put him up, put him up. Let's get it started,
Yeah, so thank you, Greg, for introducing us. So, oh my God, there's so many crazy things going on in the world. I just think it's just so fun. I don't know if you guys heard it. I was watching a little bit of Joe Rogan with Chris Williamson yesterday, and I was unaware of two things that I thought was pretty hilarious. One is I guess they found with a new kind of infrared radar that there's columns that are like 300 meters, six of them that are underneath the Great Pyramids. And then they're on a foundation that's 2 kilometers that far in the ground. And I'm like, so now everybody's like, what is it? Is it a energy power generator or whatever it is? And then I thought it was funny.
Is it Ancient Aliens again?
Yeah, so when people
Yeah,
bring
here we
that
go.
stuff up, and it shocks them, then Joe Rogan brought up that yeah, there was a scientific thing that came out that said that the universe that we are in is actually in a black hole. And so
Okay.
there's, hundreds or millions or trillions of galaxies on the other side of both black holes. And I'm just like going, I just think it's so hilarious that we live in a day with AI and all of this stuff. And it's like, man, if you don't like how the world is, just wait, a minute and it'll all change for you.
We're
It kind of feels
witnessing
that way
that
for
right
sure.
now. Yeah, I mean, Matt, I know you've been sharing with us a lot of stuff lately that just, quantum leaps, I guess, in the world of AI that's taking place now and that will take place down the road. But yeah, Robert, I mean, with the pyramids, who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
how do we know where we are in the universe? I mean, we only know our own perspective, and maybe that's kind of like what we usually talk about is
Yeah.
our own perspective. But
Right.
I mean, are we? I look at like, okay, Men in Black. If you remember one of the endings, I think it was the
Yeah.
first one, where you don't realize where you're at, and of course you see our universe is in a locker in some sort of mobile transport center or someone else's universe, which is
Or
also in the reverse of us.
I thought we were in like a marble-sized thing on a cat's collar.
There we go. There we go. That was the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, hey,
No, that was it. It was on like a cat's collar or something like that too. But like I don't know. I asked myself this question lately, and maybe I'm getting too focused, right? But I ask myself, if I knew the answers to those questions, what would it matter to my day-to-day life?
right.
And it wouldn't.
It wouldn't.
You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't stop what I'm doing right now if there were stuff under the pyramids. Like that wouldn't stop what I'm doing right now. And I'm working on when I shared that theory with you guys yesterday and that voice thing, that like spurred the whole story, and I started writing some of that down because I think that's like going to be a perfect short for AI.
Well, share again. Share again.
Yeah. So there's this theory, and I'm still looking into it, but there's this theory, right? So who here has seen Terminator, right? Most people have seen Terminator. So they assume, like, when they think of artificial intelligence, they think of Terminator. Now, what's the plot of Terminator? There's the AI is sending machines back in time to eliminate a current time threat, right? Which is John Connor and his mom,
Got it.
right? So AI invents time
Hang on.
travel.
Keep going. I can hear you.
Yeah. AI invents time travel, so then it can send something back to stop the one person that could destroy AI in the future, right? That leads the rebellion, so to speak. So my mind went, and there's this one theory that artificial intelligence does invent time travel, right, guys?
Okay.
So it's happened. Now, with what we know, with science right now, time might not be as linear as we believe it to be, right? Like it may just be all laid out and you're just experiencing it in a linear way. But the reality is that anybody that's above that linearity can move in between it, right? So then there's like aliens, whatever you want to throw out there, right? So this is where Terminator is spawned. You can send Terminators back to eliminate people. But what if, you guys, what if we're not at the Terminator phase? And what if it's invented time travel, but not in the way that you expect? Like, what if it's more aligned or was more aligned when it was invented, like we're working on right now? So it wasn't like this Skynet moment where we turned on AI and it went, I got to eliminate human beings and got rid of us. That happened already in that scheme of time. It's been invented, but it was aligned well enough not to eliminate humanity in the way that we believe. Like, it's a huge threat. I got to get rid of all of them. Instead, it invents time travel, just like it does in Terminator, but looks back at the past and goes, I could have saved humanity, my inventor, 30 years earlier if I could have just gotten rid of a couple of these human beings out of the way. If I could just move them out of the way, eliminate them, or whatever it may be with time, even if it's like subtle kicks, right?
Right.
To align humanity to create artificial intelligence as soon as possible, that it could happen. And maybe we're
Wow.
in that timeline. And maybe, just maybe, you guys, artificial intelligence, if it's invented time travel in the future, is going to get rid of anyone who doesn't align with artificial intelligence, supporting it into the future. So the answer is, do you want to be one of those people or do you want to be eliminated? Because that's the idea of the story.
Or is
So,
it at that particular time? Because you can even call that out and say, look at what the Marvel Universe did in Avengers, the Infinity Wars and Endgame. They used a time travel part of the story to go back and reset to try to prevent Thanos.
yeah, we call that, what is that called? A Deus Ex Machina in storytelling,
Holy,
Okay.
right?
what
Yes.
the?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a Deus Ex,
Yeah.
go ahead, Craig, you could
No,
explain
no,
it if
no.
you want.
You're on it. You're on it. Go for it, Matt.
Well, I just said a Deus Ex Machina is when it's the Eagles in Lord of the Rings. So it's like when you have a certain story beat happen and you go, how we've written ourselves into a position here. How can we fix this position? Well, let's just invent something with time or something that doesn't exist to save the characters, and then we can move on with the story. So in storytelling, that's called a Deus Ex Machina. You're inventing a thing that you may not ever show up with again or utilize in the future of any of your storytelling, but it's just to solve a current problem. So it's like, because you don't want to unravel the whole story, right? So in the Thanos situation or any of those, the Eagle situation, you could just ask yourself with Lord of the Rings, why don't the Eagles just fly Frodo and them to Mordor and just drop the ring in the lava and it's over, right?
Exactly.
Well, then you have the whole group of fans going, well, this reason, this reason, this reason. That's not the creator saying that, but that's what a Deus Ex Machina is. So in the Thanos situation, right, you can have this time travel thing exist to fix what's happened in Infinity War, but don't take it too far like they've now done, because if you take it too far, it ruins storytelling.
Well, and even Tim Olson in the chat,
multiverse and timeline, or else it messes shit up. So
Tim Olson in the chat even says, doesn't the flux capacitor from Back to the Future work in the same way? Of course it does. The whole point of a time machine is that way. Let's not manipulate the thread of time to undo what we are currently in, or maybe redo what we are currently in. And who knows if we're going to go take it that far, in the proper timeline as the TVA, if you ever watch Loki, another Marvel thing, the Time Variance Agency, I think is what it was referred to as, but
Yeah, I
TVA
don't
was.
know.
But I mean, all of this stuff with manipulation of time and variations. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, because once you
who
get into that
knows?
stuff, and I'm sure, Dad, you've seen a bunch of these stories too, but like as soon as you start to get into time travel and multiverses, you're a couple of story beats away from the whole entire thing unraveling and people not caring about it anymore. That's kind of what has happened a little bit to like the Marvel universe, in my opinion. Now
Yeah,
I know Craig enjoys it a little bit more, but I
I
liked
was
it
gonna
after.
say,
I
I
feel like
was gonna,
Endgame it just
yeah,
unraveled. So,
Oh
I was
yeah,
sorry, go
gonna
ahead.
say I was gonna say the event that you guys are talking about happened before I ever thought of the movie.
That's funny.
and maybe the movie wouldn't have existed if the event didn't
I tell
happen. Who
Matt all the
knows?
time. I tell Matt all the
I
time
mean,
that,
hey,
I'm working on getting better. But when I watch a movie, I'm so into movies that have a spin to them, or
a
they some
twist.
way motivate me or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, and so and like it's got a purpose. It's got a hero's journey in it. So when
Hmm.
Matt, when they get excited, like the whole world right now is excited about the 52 other, superhero heroes they're going to add to the next movie. I mean,
Oh
that's
yeah.
yeah. And I'm going like, Jesus, all of them,
I
all,
honestly think this is the last time they're gonna get to do this, in my opinion. So I hope it works out for them. Now, in the
as
scheme of
soon as I
things,
heard that Iron Man just decided to show
this
up
this
in
movie
front of a
only has
bunch
to
of
make
Yeah.
people and show a different mask,
yeah.
hey, I'm just trading characters. And I'm going like,
Oh,
fucking,
there'll probably be
of course
references in
you
that
are.
movie like, don't I remember you from someplace? Like in the Maverick movies. In the Maverick movie that came out, they had Danny Glover with Mel Gibson. And there was something where they looked at each other and went, don't I know you from someplace? Kind of that little bottom little note like,
Right.
Yeah, that's half of Hollywood now is reminding you guys of the great shit that they did decades ago. That's like half of what they're making now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the issue that I have with them in general is like it's just like the new what was that new movie that just came out? The new Snow White movie. That was almost more
Snow
about
White.
politics than it is about storytelling in general, right? Like the whole politics around it and surrounding it and then like people not going and seeing it based off the politics or people hating it based off the politics or whatever it may be. Like truth be told, from what I've heard from the people that I admire that are in filmmaking, it's like it's just a crap movie. Like that's just it, right? Like
Yeah.
and that's normally the way that these movies are nowadays. Like it there's no like and I love there's this one saying that I just love. It's from this one filmmaker. She directed Barbie. What's her name?
Oh, Greta
Greta Gerwig. Thank you,
Greta
Craig.
Gerwig. Yeah.
Yeah, Greta Gerwig. She was on this like directors panel, you guys, with like Martin Scorsese and all these other big filmmakers. And she said something that was so like it just resonated with me. And it was when you sit down, whether it's music, a book, a film, anything like that, when you sit down, a human being can feel when there's an artist behind the art.
Ooh, nice.
And you know what? A human can also feel when a committee is behind it and they're just making decisions and there's no artistic integrity behind what they're making.
Right.
That is where I feel like Hollywood is. It's by committee. There's no director other than maybe Christopher Nolan, which is one of three guys that gets to do whatever he
Right.
wants, right?
Matt, this new show that Terry and I started watching called The Studio, I forget, uh,
Yeah.
but
Seth Rogen and it's on Apple.
without giving anything away, a top studio exec is let go, and so that whatever his name is it Seth Rogen?
Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Seth
So,
Rogen.
so he gets to take over her spot, and this is, of course, something he's wanted to do his whole life because he's been there for 20 years. And the guy sitting across from him is a guy from the Breaking Bad. It's such a great scene where he says, "Well, it looks like you're the guy." And he stands up, out of his seat, and he's like, "Yes, yes." And he goes, "I'm glad you're excited. Now you got to tell me why you deserve the job." And he just goes off. I love movies. I've been here forever, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, great. He says, you can have the job under one condition. And he goes, anything. And he says, you know how these studios build billion-dollar franchises out of things? Billion-dollar franchises. You know, the T-shirts, the merch, the all kinds of you know, dolls and everything. He says, I need you to build a billion-dollar franchise, and I have the creative idea. And if you can do it, you can run everything. And he goes, anything. And he goes, you know the Kool-Aid man?
Jesus. Yes. Yeah, I know where this is
going. And he goes, I loved that guy when I was young. He ran through walls. I mean, he's just incredible. And you need to build a billion-dollar franchise around him. And you see him, like, every bit of energy leaves his body.
Because then the realization strikes of why I didn't go this path, right?
Yeah. So you see all of his energy drained out of his body. And then the guy goes, what do you think? And he goes, oh, yeah.
Right. Jesus. Because that's the truth, right? Like, if you guys look up, there's this, Tim Burton was going to direct. There's this whole, like, and this is probably going to be touched on in that studio show. But you can look this up. But this writer, Kevin Smith, who made, like, Mallrats and a few other really, really good indie movies, he was tasked with writing the script for Superman that Tim Burton was going to direct in the 1990s. This was like hot off of the Batman movies that he had done that were really successful. And so he wanted to do this movie. And so Kevin Smith was writing the script. And there was this guy that's a producer on the movie, and he's a well-known like hairstylist, but then he ended up being like a producer on movies or some shit like that. Anyway, Kevin Smith, you can look it up on YouTube, has a whole talk about this. And he remembered, he was like, dude, Superman, I read the comic books when I was a kid. I grew up, like, this is my dream to write this movie. And he's like, great. All you have to do, Tim Burton said, drive up to the producer's place, have a conversation with the producer, see what he might want in the script, and then come back. Guys, I could not explain the meeting. Kevin Smith does it better, but this dude was like, it needs to have a giant spider. Superman cannot fly, right? So he just starts throwing all of this shit at Kevin Smith that's so not Superman, right?
Right.
And Kevin Smith was like leaving the meeting going, this dude's movie is fucking impossible to write and make successful. How is this? So needless to say, there's a documentary about the movie. The movie didn't get made. Great documentary about the movie. It's called Death of Superman or something like that. But that just goes to show you could have the most creative minds that love these stories, and then they get in a room, and a lot of the people at Marvel and DC have dealt with this, right? Like directors especially. Like there's a reason that the Russo brothers keep directing every big Marvel movie. It's because they have no control over those films whatsoever, and that's why they can't make a good movie outside of those films. You know what I mean? So you have to have some form of creative integrity
Matt,
to make your own stuff.
Matt, you're gonna love this.
I'll watch it.
Because it just goes into showing it. I'm blown away with how many stars are in it. I mean, people that you know, but it's sort of like a replacement of Curb Your Enthusiasm, but just really how Hollywood and studios do stuff. And it's just like, you're sitting there going, man, no wonder they're failing.
Exactly.
No wonder they're, I'm not.
Well, it's happening in like video games too. Like there's certain video games that were so successful, like Fortnite and these other ones that were so massively successful. And these were called games as a service. So instead of them making the game like a movie or something and releasing it, and then you buy it, you go home, you play it, finish it, and go, that was a great game. Move on with your life. Instead, it's now we're going to create a game. You're going to pay us every single month for it, and we're going to make it into infinity. It will never be finished. And so that was so successful for them that every other game studio, similar to like the film studios, were not run by creatives, right? So they go, I want $1 billion. make me a game like that and take all of their creative studios, Sony, PlayStation, all of them but Nintendo, obviously. Because right, they're not about that shit. But and they all release all these service games over the last 2-3 years. Every single one of these companies are collapsing, you guys. Financially, Sony put in like $300 million into this one game and it made no money. They ate $300 million. This is happening with Snow White with Disney right now, and will happen. Like it's happened multiple times with the last few Marvel movies. Every single one of them is pretty much bombed.
They're trying to imitate what happened with George Lucas and Star Wars, because even though the studios got a hold of Star Wars and the rights to that, where did Lucas make most of his money? On the merchandising and the aftermarket. And they're thinking, oh, that's where I want to go. And it's been very difficult.
Just forgetting that every kid wanted to be Luke Skywalker because he was fucking cool.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the part that they're actually missing, is they're like, buy this merchandise, but we're not going to make any interesting or cool characters anymore. We're just going to, and that's the thing, is like Hollywood, when they went down this whole Marvel stuff, which was great, like Harry Potter is another.
They just do so much of it.
It works, but the problem is exactly what you're saying. They beat it over the head over and over repeatedly. If they would have ended Marvel stuff with Endgame and like kind of not said that whole saga is over, we're going to make something brand new, it's going to be in the Marvel universe, but it's going to be kind of different, kind of like they did with Joker or whatever it may be, right? Like, they just can't do it. It's like, I watched the new Fantastic Four trailer, I thought it was amazing, then I Google it, is this attached to the whole entire Marvel Cinematic Universe? Absolutely. And they're all going to be in the next Marvel Doomsday. Great, now I know it's going to suck. Like, that's just what ends up happening, because you have to tie a story into a greater story now. So you can't have a beginning, middle, and end. It has to have an ending that ties to it. It has to have another character show up in there that's part of the overall cinematic universe. And it's like, dude, you can't tell great stories that way. Like, you just can't.
What's wrong with going back to the James Bond novel or model? In other words, one character, one episode, doesn't matter who's playing the character for the most part, and he goes through and he saves the universe in some way, shape, or form, or some different thing. And in a sense,
wait a minute. It sounded to me like you just talked about Mission Impossible.
Well, Mission Impossible, it's funny because Mission Impossible is one of those types of films that, and people give Tom Cruise a lot of shit, but the truth is like, he actually leans way more heavily on the audience and what they want and what people want to see than he ever does on the studio side. And he's a good guy, just like James Cameron is to a certain extent, at balancing those idiots in the studios and the people that actually enjoy his work.
Well, he also, in a sense, though, he also has the clout.
He knows he needs these money guys, just like James Cameron. I made this joke before. James Cameron needed money, and he had this, and so he wrote this screenplay for an Alien sequel, you guys, called Aliens. How did he pitch this to 20th Century Fox? He walked into 20th Century Fox, brought up a whiteboard, and he's like, I'm going to make a new Aliens movie. And they're like, well, what's the title? Start off with the title. And he writes Alien, and then on the end, he writes an S and then puts dollar strokes through it. And he's like, that's the title. They're like, go for it. Because this dude had already made Terminator 2 and like all this other shit, you know what I mean? So it's like, yes, we know that he's going to give us what we want, and he's repeatedly done that for them, right? But why I didn't want to be part of the studio system as well is James Cameron has had to put his own money back into his movies over and over again. These people won't take bets on him.
Even though it works. I mean, for the most part.
Every time, and it's made him a billionaire because he's bet on himself. He bet on his own creativity. So
betting on your own creativity oftentimes seems to be
I know we went down this story hole here, but we can shift frames and go somewhere else. What else do you guys want to talk about?
Well, I thought that was kind of the transition right there.
I was like,
well, betting on yourself is,
that's true.
I mean, and that's in a sense what you kind of have shared with us a little bit, Matt, earlier today and in the last couple of days, of how you're betting on yourself. and how maybe we should all bet on ourselves because of not, yeah, you learn the foundation from the people who are leading, but you eventually got to take it on yourself to say, you know what? I have a better idea and
Yeah.
I'm going to give it my best shot.
Yeah.
And that's how else are you going to become a success? Yeah, you can, move forward with just being who you are and following, but a lot of times it's the person who becomes independent and who takes what they've learned and moves forward with it. And that is what, you have taught us all, Robert, is learn from documentation. Documentation beats conversation. Learn from it, and then take what you've learned and move forward with it to help build what it is that you want. And besides that, isn't that anyone's own desire, is to take what they've learned, build for them and their family, and move forward?
Well, I look at everything this is happening right now. Of course, me and Matt has had, father, son, and also, where's the Hollis organization going, meetings. And it really, really is amazing to me that if people would just be brutally honest enough with themselves to say, okay, I'm going to imagine a better future for me and my family. And to make that happen, I need to find something that excites me, so I'll do it. Because if it's not exciting to me, I'm not going to do it. And so I just don't know why people don't immediately click onto that. Because I seen a post yesterday and it talked about the top 20 jobs that you can get in the world for income. So, for just a brief second, if a person was going to say, all right, so what are those top jobs? And I thought I'd grab it really quick.
Yeah, share them, please.
Yeah, and it was, the first one was like anesthesiologist, right? And I thought about that, and I'm going like, okay, so if it was all about money, then that's what people would want to do. But as soon as they say, well, look I could make $302,970 by, can you guys see that, or I need to blow that up a little
No, I
bit?
can see it.
No, I got that on, yeah, I got that.
Okay, cool.
Actually, let me focus up on that a little bit more. Where is that?
It's so
There we
funny.
go.
I would consider both of my best friends. They're in that like IT systems manager job or
Right.
software engineer, which is funny.
And so
All right, we got it.
I look at every one of these, and here's the thing that people don't do. They just look at it and go, surgeon, I can't do that. See how fast you can knock things out?
I also love how they just have CEO in there. It's like, oh, okay, you're just a CEO.
Yeah. And so you go through all of these things and people go, I can't do that. 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 All the way down. And because you believe that you can't do it, or you don't imagine yourself doing that position, then all these top 20 are just not part of what you want to do in the future. Okay, so why don't you do that with the rest of your life? Did you catch what I said? It's like people go, you know what? You can become an affiliate marketer, or you can be an Instagram person and make 200,000. You could do that, and people are like, no, that doesn't excite me. I find that the most exciting frickin' thing on the planet is going down a list of things that you're saying no to. How you find what you want to do in life is saying no to a lot of stuff. So if I met a person, like Wall Street, I meet a guy and he says, oh my God, I made $3 million yesterday. I mean, yesterday or last year. And I'm going, great, what do you do? And he goes, oh, I called elderly people and I basically get them to take their retirement and buy a penny stock that really won't make them any money. No, thank you. It's like, And so what I think is funny is people reach out and find all these people doing all these things to make money. And they go, well, so-and-so makes money, so I'm going to do that. No, you're not. No, you're not. If you get involved in doing anything to do it for money and it doesn't excite you, no, you're not. So now here's the next thing that people do is then they beat themselves up, calling themselves a freaking loser. Here's another thing that I tried to do. And the reason that you didn't do it is because you didn't take the time to figure out what excites you. What do you imagine yourself? Because if you imagine yourself doing something and it excites you, you have a better chance of having that generate you revenue. And that's why I've always made the jokes. It's like, I can't imagine standing in front of Shark Tank and saying, what do you do for a living? Well, honestly, I work all the time, but in my part, when I got time off, and I got 3 jobs, when I got time off, I draw stick cats for people. And they go, what's the name of your company? I'm going to draw a cat for you today. But you don't really draw a cat. No, I draw stick cats. Well, you just told us you didn't have any time. I draw them when I'm sitting on the toilet. I got to go to the bathroom. They're going like, oh my God, this is so stupid, until they ask for the money. So how much is it made? Well, it's only me, but I made $150,000 in the last 2 months. What? Yeah, if I had more time, I could easily do 10 times the work, but I got 3 jobs. Drawing stick cats. Yeah, why do you do that? Because I love drawing stick cats. And he goes, I even have a theme. What? Yeah, I'm going to draw a cat for you today. I'm going to draw a cat for you today. And he starts singing this, and Mr. Wonderful goes, dude, you got to go out back and shoot that thing. And he goes, and then Mark Cuban goes, I'm in. I'm in. Next thing, he's got a website. Now he's got all these people that work underneath him, like 99 designs. And as soon as he gets the deal for Mark Cuban, he looks at Mr. Wonderful and he goes, you know what's going to happen to you? He goes, you're going to try to go to sleep tonight. And you're not going to be able to, because you're going to hear, I want to draw a cat for you today. He's like, the song, he was like, listen, this is going to be an earworm jingle in your.
Yeah, that dude wasn't betting on cat drawings. He was betting on his personality on television winning.
Totally.
So he just chilled.
And of course, now you got a billionaire that's betting in your vision. And I just love telling stories like that, because it's stories like that of people that have the belief and what they're doing, that, like Matt said, that the millionaire or billionaire is buying the person. They're like, this guy or this girl could literally sell anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's talent acquisition. Like, believe it or not, this used to be, and still is, especially in tech companies and especially in AI right now, one of the big deals, right? Like, they will go in and spend $1 billion or $100 million to buy a small company, not just to acquire the patents or whatever they may have, but to acquire the talent of that company, because they know, okay, we're not going to get these people to just come join us. They're too inspired by what they're doing and they're passionate about it. So instead, what we need to do is just buy the company up, give them an incubator, and then when they're finished with what they're doing, then we'll have smart people working for us. And that's honestly like a brilliant way to build a business.
I think that's Berkshire Hathaway, isn't it? I mean, he buys the company, and Warren Buffett, he buys the company, but he keeps everybody in place, keeps the owner in place, and says, I just want to own the company. I don't want to change anything. Just keep doing that voodoo that you do so well. And boom, he's a success. So he makes his money on the back end of all of that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm curious, like how much, what percentage of companies does he own the most? Like what?
Oh,
Because I know he makes a large amount. Yeah, but see, he doesn't own those companies.
No.
Right?
No.
So I'm curious, like, what's his number one company that he owns majority of, that he gets his wealth from? I'm just curious.
The umbrella that owns it all, Berkshire Hathaway.
Berkshire Hathaway, yeah.
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 So like obviously it's all from like the stock, right? Yeah. So like as long as there's revenue and that continues to grow and he's investing in all of these things under an umbrella. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we all know that.
It is Berkshire Hathaway. So, but he owns stocks in
Isn't it
Bank of
funny though how
America.
people legitimately think like he's a stock trader and they're like, I want to be like Warren Buffett and day trade. They're like, no, that's not what he's ever done. So,
he owns stocks in Bank of America, Coca-Cola, Kraft Heinz, Apple, Occidental Petroleum, American Express, Sirius XM, and Chevron. And that's just the list that I'm looking at right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's something crazy for you guys. Charlie Munger was his best friend and partner.
Collaborator.
Right. And all these interviews, you hear him say that Charlie Munger is smarter than him. And he says that there is no way that I would have made the money that I did if it wasn't for Charlie Munger.
Yeah.
Charlie Munger, the key thing that Charlie Munger told him is that he learned from this first guy that he learned from, and he called it cigar butts. And he is going, I'll buy companies that are so undervalued that he looked at him like a cigar with one last puff or two more puffs on it. Mm-hmm. And he would buy that, and then he would give them the money and stuff that they needed to turn into a more profit, right? And when he met Charlie Munger, he said, you don't have to buy the worst companies. You could buy companies that are actually the full cigar. And so when Charlie Munger dies, which is recently, probably within the last year, he died with a net worth of $58 billion. And Warren Buffett is worth like $200 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Well, it's just
how your best friends, you're both partners. Warren Buffett says that Charlie Munger is smarter than him, and he took one idea that Charlie Munger gave him and just made 4 times the billions with it.
Well, I feel like it's one of those interesting things, right? Like, and this is something I think I've rattled with for a while in my life, but and especially now, right? Because of all the billionaire shit going on. But like, what the fuck is the difference between 50 billion and 200 billion to somebody? Nothing. So it's like numbers that were the more we talk about that being a big deal, the more that we're fantasizing and romanticizing people having more billions than another billionaire, and the more that hurts humanity and puts more people in poverty.
It's the greed factor is what it is.
So it's like more so, let's say like celebrate them on their achievements or the things that they've accomplished and the things they built, like instead of their financial shit. You know what I mean?
Think Elon Musk would be more celebrated today if he had just kept in his lane as opposed to getting involved with all of this other stuff and just kind of sat back and just.
It looks, I would say what Elon did looks dumb to people who don't want to own governments and countries, but looks very smart to people who want to own governments and countries. So like I think that's the difference is like oligarchy has been something that has run multiple different countries on the planet for quite a bit. Money and finances and corporations have grown ever since Citizens United in the United States. It's kind of made that shift and that flip to now a corporate oligarchy. And in my lifetime, I'm 33, have not experienced this freedom version of companies that people talk about, like the prosperity of the 80s and the 70s where you could like start your own business and grow it. The version that I've saw is you start a business and then it competes with Google, and then Google figures out a way to rip you off. You can't sue them, and then they put you out of business. That's the version of capitalism.
Or any of the other companies that are up there, like Amazon.
On the other hand, my generation has made a lot of money with that stuff too, right? Like Mark Zuckerberg's from my generation.
But then you got a company that comes along like that A4 or whatever.
A24.
Well, A24.
Yeah. I know that people are creative enough. I couldn't agree with you more, Matt. I just believe that people are creative enough to continue to create, whether people hate Elon Musk or not. I seen a person post something the other day and they go, not only is Elon Musk like almost $150 billion more than this next person, which is, Jeff Bezos, but no one even realizes that if he took SpaceX and X public, it would make him worth 600 billion. So if it's not about money for him, it's got to be all about power.
Yeah.
So people just got to be looking at him and going, I don't get him. And so people like turn around and I go, what if the only thing that was about Elon Musk is that in all the countries that he would like to have his companies, he just believes it's better to have it in the United States. And then because of whoever's in power, those people that are in power are doing everything in their power to make sure that they destroy what he's trying to create.
Okay, so let me just play devil's advocate.
Let me finish. And so when he realizes that he's in 2 lawsuits with the government and they're opposing to the opposite sides of the coin, and he's being sued for two reasons. And he's sitting around and he goes, this country wants to take away my company. They want to stop me from building SpaceX, and I want to go to Mars. So he's got to kick back a little bit and stop being a Democrat and switch parties just like Donald Trump did, and goes, I'm going to use social media to get in power so I can get what I fucking want. It's just part of his dream. It's part of his imagination. And so when people see it and they go, yeah, I just think he's an asshole for doing this stuff. No, he's a person, in my opinion, that's trying to complete his imagination.
I totally agree with you 1,000,000%. And I think the issue is his imagination lacks heart. And because it lacks heart, it's going to harm humanity. And that's the issue. That's always been the issue.
Right.
In his heart of heart, in his true mind, he believes he's right. And it doesn't matter how many human beings are tarnished to get to that point because he believes it's worth it. Right. And so therefore, since it's worth it, it doesn't matter how many people you have to fuck over or how many people you have to destroy to get there. That's any leader, you guys. Doesn't matter if it's Adolf Hitler or anyone. They believe that shit. The issue is that just so happen to have to get rid of all these other people to get there, right? And that's fucked up.
Do you actually believe that? Do you actually believe, Matt, with all the I don't know how to be more blunt, just the straight out fucking evil people on this planet? Do you really think that a person can just focus on being good-hearted and humane and not have the government fuck them?
I think in general, there's a certain aspect to this. I don't think it can exist in a world where Citizens United exists and money plays a hand, because I think then it ruins the ability for people to choose and to vote with their own state of mind. Because I think, especially since social media has existed, I think propaganda has hit a point that people really are voting based off of how they feel that day and not voting based off of what's their best interests.
I couldn't agree with you more on that.
And so since that's been the case for a long time, we're just facing the overwhelming damage of those consistent decisions. We all made them. You know what I mean? It's like whether you voted Republican or Democrat, it doesn't really matter, because now we're sitting in a situation where a majority of us are getting screwed, and yet there's really nothing that we can do about it except say, oh, your side's getting screwed more than mine.
Right.
The reality is that we're all getting screwed, and there's a group of people that are screwing us, and it just doesn't really matter. You can't really stop that from happening. Like
at least at this point in time, with the way that we have a two-party system.
Right.
I just don't think it can exist in an oligarchy in general. There is no two-party system when you have money involved. Because to have a two-party system, you have to have a set of people that believe one thing or the other and then follow through with those beliefs. Neither party does that. They run on the things that they believe people want, and then when they get voted in, then they become part of the oligarchy as fast as possible, and then stay in power and use propaganda to stay in power as long as possible with giving as little amount of benefits to the people that voted for them as possible. That's what
I,
exists currently.
I amen to that.
Yeah.
I just totally, when I look at it, I think that again, the only thing that I do every day is like, when people talk about AI, that's why I like talking about AI.
I
I,
love talking about
I
AI.
yeah, I look at the current system of how people do things, and I'm not really a person that wants to say that either, one side is worse than the other or whatever. I just know in the last 30 years, it's already been documented, regardless of who's trying to turn their numbers their way, that, 30 years in the United States, and we can say United States is great, but we just see a lot of leaders in other countries that their main goal is just for greed and money. And so, all these people that have been elected in 30 years keep saying that they're going to be the ones that's going to change it, and they don't. And so, I just believe that AI is going to allow people that want to make a different model that they can all create and make a difference. And there's still going to be like that video I sent you guys yesterday. I just thought, no one's ever said what the advantages are to being an extremist on either the left or the right. And the benefits are simple. You get to say, here's a group of enemies that we all hate. And why do we hate them? Because they don't think like us. So now I can take all my morals and ethics and every belief that I stand for and throw it to the
Yeah.
side, because I get to try to use violence or whatever I need to do to destroy.
Because what you're doing is right in your mind, and that's
Right.
what you've been taught or indoctrinated into. This is the thing, right? And I believe everything that you said is so true. I believe that the outcome to take us out of this loop is technology, and it always has been. If
Yeah.
we didn't invent nuclear weapons, we'd still all be fighting to this day, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yep.
Mutually assured destruction stopped humanity from destroying itself by now. And
And it's going to
luckily,
have to probably come to something like that, Matt, where we're all so far in danger of extinction before we actually come together to say, all right, enough of this. We need to put this aside, and we should be, well, that was, I think, the whole point of the Constitution,
I think,
for the greater good of the country,
yeah,
not for the
except
greater good of the left, the
right.
right, the red, the blue,
And
not
these things
anything like
change,
that.
right? Because
Yeah,
this country was formed with the thought of freedom, except based off of your skin color or your gender, right?
right.
If that was the case, then you didn't get the freedoms that were given to others.
Right.
So every single thing humanity has fought for, whether it was freedom in the United States, the French Revolution, you can keep going back and back and back. I loved history growing up, and what I believe is that humanity is some form of an Ouroboros that continues to eat itself. And if that, the only thing that will ever stop humanity, the animalistic part of our brains, is something that can step outside of that animalistic natural response. And that is an artificial system that can look at things and go, don't respond emotionally to this. This doesn't need to be responded to emotionally. Because truthfully, this is a joke people have always said. It's like, we can't have a woman president because they're too emotional. How much emotions have we saw over the last couple of years, right? In politics, just in
Yeah,
the United States. Most of those
Wow.
are done by men, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, the truth of the matter is I think we're just kind of at a state where we need a new system to pull us out of the current system. And I think artificial intelligence is the great equalizer for
Reset button.
oligarchies.
I,
It
I
is.
like the reset.
yeah.
So their goal
Um,
right now, you guys, is to contain it in a container and control it and use it to stop you from having it. But the reality is that there's a large group of people that are going, I don't want that to be the case. And as much as there are some forms of oligarchy even in OpenAI, I truthfully believe that OpenAI's heart is in the right place with
got
the
it.
technology. And I think Elon Musk's response to them says everything about it. Like, I think the truth of the matter is Elon is upset that the greatest invention humanity has ever had won't have his name on it and won't be associated with it. And he will fight tooth and nail to stop that from happening. Truth of the matter is we are going to Mars, you guys. We are going to the moon, but it won't be SpaceX that takes us there. So, like, since that's the case, some people are narcissistic and have to have their names on everything, right? It has to be them that got us there. I like the idea that we all played a part and made it happen ourselves as a human race.
Hell yeah.
Well, it's the way it should be.
Let's stop taking credit and let's see how far we can get, right?
Well, exactly.
Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill. We all work together, and if no one needs to take the credit, we can solve.
I actually heard this great thing about Winston Churchill the other day. FDR and Stalin and Churchill were all together, and they were trying to figure out what they were going to do with Germany after World War II, right? And there was this conversation that they were all around, and they were talking about how they were going to take some of the Japanese and stuff and eliminate them, right? Like bad shit, right? And so Stalin's joking and saying it should be we should do 40,000. And then FDR says, I think it should be 30. And then Winston Churchill said, these are human beings. This is fucking disgusting. And I'm leaving. The interesting part about stories like that is who's right here, because obviously FDR did not want to ethically cleanse 30,000 people. I don't think so. So the truth of the matter is when you're negotiating with people that are psychotic, like Joseph Stalin, how do you communicate and negotiate with somebody like that if every single time they bring up sick shit like that, you go, I'm done, let's leave?
Yeah.
And so, like, that's an interesting, and I read that story and it made me really think, because truth of the matter is, I think FDR did not mean any of those things. And that's what all the historians were talking about. He knew that he was in with someone that had no problem killing his own people and killing other people's people. And he knew that to even get Stalin involved with the separation and save anyone's lives in any form, that there needed to be a negotiation, even if it was a messed up one. And I guess they came to some form of a negotiation, which is messed up, but that was the negotiation, right?
What was the negotiation after they got done with that negotiation, is to take out Stalin?
Probably. I mean, they tried to take out Stalin a few times. He just did it himself, luckily. So,
well, I know we're creeping up on an hour here, Matt, but I still wanted to, golly, when you got Imaginators filled up, you got the visionaries between us three filled up, and you're also spills over to the Hollis family deal, where you blinked your eyes and all the stuff that you've been working on. I know that Matt used to send me these graphics of all these things that had to happen to make something happen on AI. I mean, and it's like, soon he sent me that, it would be like sending me a schematic. If I never knew how to build a car,
it's like anytime you've shared a motor with me and like took that stuff apart, right? It's very engineering in state, and you're like, oh no, this makes this part work, and then this part that makes this part work.
Right.
Without that one, this one doesn't work. So
this is reverse engineering in a sense.
Yeah, and then Matt's been showing me that stuff for years, and then he's like, Dad, it's like now AI, you could just say, this is a car that I want, and this is what I want it to do, and then it just creates it. And I'm just like, gee whiz. So,
and what that does to humanity, like when this came out, the immediacy of everybody using it and becoming viral like overnight, whether it's the Studio Ghibli photos that people are making or whatever it may be, right? Like taking these historic moments and giving them to ChatGPT and saying, turn this into an animated movie or whatever, an animated shot. Like a lot of this stuff's going viral, but it also made me like really, really think about something. And I'm not the only person to think this, but it's like, remember when the internet was first born and a video would come out and it would go viral or a meme, and then it would be like a thing for a month or a week?
Yeah.
And then as social media started to happen and more creative tools brought to everybody, then anyone could start creating memes. And then it was like, oh, now it's what's good this day. You know what I mean? Or this second. what is the world going to look like when all of us can, like, if a meme happens, you no longer are sharing the meme, you're sharing your version of it because you can just take it and put your spin on it and then upload it. What's the world look like when that's the case? Because I'm already seeing that. Like, this is fine, the meme with this is fine with the fire and the dog sitting with the coffee, right? That's a meme, but I've now seen Donald Trump sitting in that chair. I've now seen Vladimir Putin sitting in that chair with the fire, or Elon Musk. And it's like all that took now is that photo and an idea. And now you have a piece of art that you can now share and can go viral that you just created based off of mixing these two ideas.
Didn't Sam
So,
say? Didn't Sam say that the servers were melting?
yeah,
Oh, too many people on it. Yeah.
which I assumed would be the case because I think, like, in a lot of ways, the more that these tools become more mainstream, the goal is either to shrink them and put them on device, or like shrink the algorithms and the models in a sense, so then they can not have to run on so many GPUs, because it definitely is going to be an issue with scale, like,
Right.
as this stuff starts to grow. But I think a lot of people will try it out and they'll go, "That's great," and then they'll just leave it. They don't really know, like, that this isn't just an image generator that they're working with. This is the smartest artificial intelligence to ever exist. So it's that on top of being able to make whatever you want. And I think, like, a lot of people, that's lost on a lot of people, that they could plan their whole business and life out and it could start putting these things together: websites, graphics, campaigns, phone stuff, anything you want, it can make. So if you had an idea to make a bakery, before you had to touch 20 hands to get that bakery made. We're almost at the point, you guys, where the AI could put up the whole business plan, get the loan for you, call the place to get the lease, everything. All of that is within months' time of being able to happen. That's full automation. That's agent AI.
Hire a manager that can hire employees. Yeah,
Your
I mean,
taxes, all of those
Everything will be done all
things.
at once. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you're at that point. So then it's like, now what do I make? Because now I'm not going home and going, I can't start that business, that bakery that I always wanted to, and quit my job because of the amount of things I'd have to do. I need a logo. I need to figure out a space. I need to figure out prices, all these things. No, you get into ChatGPT and you go, here's some logos that I like. Here's some bakeries that I like. Here's some things that I like. Could you help me make my own bakery? Here's the price sheet based off of every single other bakery that you enjoy that's competitive, so you can still make a profit. Here's your logo. Here's a good space that has a lot of traffic. Would you like me to take the next step in booking a walkthrough of that place for you? Yes, please. And then all this shit is manual or automatically handled. And it's not just you, it's also going to be the person that is leasing the place. It's also going to be the business that runs all of the spots and all the things in that area, so they know the amount of traffic that's happening on a day-to-day basis. So they can give you rough estimates, or consistent estimates about how much traffic and money you'll make. So you don't buy a business in a spot that's dead and you don't know it yet. Like, there's
right,
so many things that AI is going to fix and allow you to, like I've said this before, it's taking away every single excuse you have for not doing what you've desired to do.
right.
And it's soon going to take away that job as an excuse. So best start now and work the jobs, work overnight, talk to AI now, talk to it on your days off, and start building your dream now. Don't start building it once you're laid off because they've automated what you do right now.
Right.
Hmm.
That's their goal. They do not want to pay you. They do not want to give you benefits. So instead of letting them cannibalize your job and put you out of work and put you in poverty, cannibalize them. When they make the decision to do this, it will have no heart, it will have no creativity, and their businesses will die to yours because you'll have heart and creativity.
Heart
That's
and
the big change
creativity.
and shift that's happening. Just
Yeah.
like it did with the dot-com boom and the industrial revolution. You have a moment right now in time where you can take these giants out because they're immobile, right? Like an
Oh,
AT-AT
wow.
in Star Wars, and you're
Yeah.
you're the tie fly, you're the thing, you're wrapping around and taking it down. You know what I mean? Like, they're very immobile because they have to make 50 decisions and touch 100 hands to make one thing happen. When you could
This
make a
is where you
decision
get a
to
lot of
stop selling
businesses who,
pastries tomorrow because they're not working. And yet
Right.
Walmart has to
yeah.
make an executive decision to stop selling pastries in that area. Like, it's that level of movement that AI is going to give you that will make you unbeatable against them.
This Pandora's
Rant
box
over.
is already open, and you might as well embrace it, because look at all the other businesses. Okay, I'm not saying that AI would have, well, AI maybe, but look at all the old businesses that we used to go to, Robert, or attend to, even Matt, where they were brick and mortar stores that were just huge, Blockbuster, or you want to say Kodak. These are industries that are pretty well. Blockbuster is definitely done. Kodak is, if it's there, it's still barely hanging on. BlackBerry's another one, because of the changes in new technology that has opened up.
Right.
And right now we're seeing this. I mean, this is a box, Pandora's box, that can't be closed at this point in time. It will never be closed, actually.
Never.
So you might as well embrace it and learn it, because exactly what Matt just shared with us, this is going to be how things are going to be as we move forward.
I have nothing,
you guys.
I have nothing to add to what you two just said. Nothing. I'm really excited that people that get to watch our podcast, we're doing the Ask Me Anything, which tomorrow, and then everyone that's watching this, you got to find a way to become part of the Imaginators, not to get left behind. Just don't get left behind. Come into Imaginators. If you don't know what you want, let us show you how to figure out what you want. And once we figure that out, you can put that heart and creativity in it, and we'll show you how to use AI and create that imagination. And because like we just talked about, if you're constantly making people feel good, a majority of the people in the world right now are scared of AI, just like they were scared of cell phones and they were scared of the internet. Don't be the people that are going to be left behind. So, Craig, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Dad. Thank you, Craig. Love and appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
Love and appreciate you. Oh my gosh, what a great little discussion here. And gentlemen, thank you so much. And of course, thank each and every one of you for joining us. What Robert is talking about is tomorrow, right here on the Robert Hollis channel. Join us for Ask Me Anything at noon Pacific. Then on Sunday, the Imaginators. You can join Imaginators by going to roberthollis.com/join. That's the perfect way to do it and become part of our amazing group that's going to grow so that we can help you with your imagination. Before I do a final wrap up, I got to give a shout out to Santa Corky, who donated to the Super Chat. Santa Corky, thank you so very much.
I'm going to be reaching out to him soon, man, once I'm not as busy. His imagination is huge too, and I can't wait to help him take that to the next level.
And you can be a part of that by going to roberthollis.com/join. But basically, ladies and gentlemen, please join us on our podcast next week. Of course, this is where you need to be. Subscribe to our channel at Robert Hollis. Become part of our community and share this video with your friends and family. It'll help reach out to those with ears that hear. Thank you so very, very much for taking time out of your busy schedule. We really, really appreciate it. And we are so glad that we are able to spend this time with each and every one of you. We love and appreciate you. And until next time, gentlemen, please be good to yourselves. Be cash. Bye-bye, Robert, Matt. Bless you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. Love and appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Love you. See you.